headphone mixers. My name is Paul Third, and that man across from me is Emrah Celik, an award-winning mixing mastering engineer with over 3 billion streams to his name, with 90% of those mixes coming from headphones. Right, this week we have a range of headphones that we've been asked to review for a long time. Now, we have spoke about this on the channel, and I've spoke about it quite a lot, that these, the HE1000 SE, they are my favourite headphone of all time for listening to music. They are smooth as butter, and Emrah actually gave them an F because he still to this day believes that there is no song that is good enough to be mixed on the HE1000 SE. Give it an F. Jesus Christ. Remember that? Yeah. So now we do have other headphones, right? We have the cheaper alternative, which HIFIMAN sent me, which is the HE1000 version 2. This is retailing, I think, for around, say, £1,000, I'm pretty sure. The HE1000 SE is retailing for around £1,600, £1,700. And I'm pretty sure this is around £1,000. And near the end of the video, we are going to talk about the new kid on the block, the HE1000 Unveiled. And the reason now why we say Unveiled is voila, you can take away the casing and you can expose the planar magnetic driver. So I'm going to let Emrah talk a little bit about that later on, because there's very, 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 very interesting stuff going on here. Would help if I wasn't clattering the magnet, but there we go. So let's start off with the HE1000 SE. We won't talk too much about it because we've already done a review on it in our HIFIMAN tier list video. Be a link in the description for that. So for mixing and mastering, just as a quick recap, again, comfort is amazing, the headband's amazing, the build quality is amazing, the sound is amazing, but they are on the relaxed side and they are maybe a bit too overly smooth. There's a reason why Emrah will sit with a glass of whiskey when he's listening to music with these bad boys. So yeah, we do highly recommend them for listening, but they are maybe just a bit on the relaxed side for mixing. They've not got the slam and the energy of something like In and the Nanos. So many people have asked me about these. Now, Emrah doesn't have the HE1000 version 2. Many people call it the HE1000 Stealth, but it's called HE1000 version 2 as far as I know. Now, in terms of the differences, build-wise, they look like almost like the identical. They look almost the exact same. Even the pads are the same, where you've got one side that's thinner and the other side, oh God, all my angles are terrible, and the other side are thicker. They look practically identical. Honestly, like I'm struggling to find any aesthetic differences in them. But unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of bad news that anybody thinking that they've got close to the HE1000 SE with the HE1000 version 2, yeah, it's not there. This is older tech. This is, for me, the king of the HE1000 line. This sounds like older tech to me. This sounds like a less refined version of the HE1000 SE. It's actually even more relaxed, which I don't like, and it's a little bit more veiled to me. I think there's a veiled quality to this compared to the HE1000 SE. The HE1000 SE still has it's still got a bit of speed and there is transients in there, where these just sound like a more refined edition XS for me. Energy-wise, I think everything kind of sounds the same. So it's almost like the Edition XS, but like with a better headband, much better build, and a better driver. Yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I wouldn't really recommend these for mixing, just because energy-wise, everything does sound the same. If you want to mix to sound aggressive on these, it's going to sound overly aggressive if you do make them sound aggressive on these. The low end is good, it's nice and full, but I would say that these, in my opinion, are audiophile headphones. Overall, I just think that they're a very relaxed sound. They're almost like a better kind of Sennheiser, where you get clean low end, you get a nice mid-range. It is a little bit veiled, but to me it's like if you're like used to like the HD 650 or something like that, this is a much more refined version with much lower distortion, better bass. But yeah, it doesn't really have the energy for me, and yeah, it's just like a better Edition XS. So it's an audiophile headphone for me, and by the way, EQ can't fix it either. It's just the sound characteristic of the headphone. So no, I cannot recommend the HE1000 version 2 for mixing and mastering. If I was to give it a grading, I would give it a grading of C. I would give it limited translation. You can get the imaging, voila, perfect, spot on. Really good imaging, really good sound staging. It's just that, yeah, you're going to struggle to kind of dynamically, you're going to struggle to get the energy right on them. So I'd give them a C. They're relatively honest, but they're not honest enough for me. And I think there are better headphones for mixing and mastering on the market. So for anybody wanting to find a headphone that they could mix and master on, this would be the better choice. This has more energy in it. It's got better resolution in it. It's got overall more details, better separation. I would say I'd say it's night and day difference for me. Anybody that says it isn't, I'd be shocked, and then probably needs their ears tested, because this is a big jump up in driver quality for me. Like, this is still to this day one of my favourite headphones. But this is now on the market, and this is where I'm going to lead to Emrah, because Emrah has been patiently waiting to get a word in. Emrah, tell people what you've learned briefly around this, around the completely open planar magnetic HIFIMAN HE1000 Unveiled.
Yeah, maybe we should tell people that they need some kind of toilet paper to stop their nose bleeding. Because it's going to be a pretty nerdy, or maybe I'm going to take it pretty, okay, and to be understand better. Maybe you've never been in an anechoic chamber, but if you don't know about an anechoic chamber, it's a room without any reflection. So it's like there is no resonance, there's nothing. Everything you hear as in resonance-wise is coming from either speakers or the measurement rig and something like that. So there's no reflection. So what HIFIMAN did is to bring that feeling into headphones. But there's a physical limitation, like scientifically. In an anechoic chamber, you are sitting in an anechoic chamber and you have two pairs of speakers, and imagine you are mixing in that room. What really is going to happen is that even the speakers measures like ruler flat, you're going to feel it as bright as possible. It's going to sound bright. But when you took those speakers to a really good room with good acoustic correction and everything, it's going to sound like a 6 dB tilt towards the highs. So in a good room, we hear more bass. But in an anechoic chamber, we hear flat, but that flat is boring, is bright, and everything you mix in that room will going to translate really bad, like boomy and dark and
Yep.
So that's why it's impossible to create such a room in your home. It has to be very special, and to make it really possible, you have to spend a lot of money, because up, down, left, right, back, front, no reflections. Those rooms are for testing, and everything we hear as a speaker, tested in that room. So when we look at these headphones, if we think about a normal or grilled open back or closed back, what you're gonna hear a lot of resonances and pad bounce and stuff like that in a headphone. And that's kind of create the resonances and decay time and a lot of sustain in the sound. There are a few DIY testing on these stuff. People try to remove the back grills and everything, or just try to fix inside in the cups like Dan Clark Audio did. What HIFIMAN did is this is for the first time you see such a headphone without no back grill. And as you can see, driver is completely exposed.
Yep.
Like you can see almost my face.
I know.
Yeah. So you are looking at a planar magnet driver fully exposed. This is actually the way they create anechoic chamber in headphones, because there's no reflection, and sound is not going to reflect back to if you don't sit in a very, very tight and small room. Like the sound is not going to come back and reflect back into the headphones. Only the pads, maybe pad reflection happens, but this is pretty much the anechoic chamber as a headphone. This is what most of the people who tested these headphones missing. But the thing is, in anechoic chamber, there's a distance, right? Imagine if this room is an anechoic chamber, and I'm sitting in the front of two pair of speakers. There's a 1.1 meter or 2 meters distance, and that distance is going to be enough for the waveform, except the low end, low, mid range, and highs enough. If you think about the speed of the sound, is enough distance to form the waveform, right? And unfortunately, this is not going to happen in these headphones because the distance is very short, and that's not enough to form those frequencies as a fully waveform, the cycle I'm talking about. And in this case, what we're going to have in here is going to be the low end is going to behave like anechoic chamber, and low mids is kind of semi-anechoic chamber, and this is where things get interesting. From upper mid-range and highs, it's just a normal headphone, like you used to listen. This creates an interesting sound profile. And this is, believe or not, is going to create, of course, it depends on the driver quality, but I'm talking about the HIFIMAN window, perspective. This is one of the fastest headphones HIFIMAN ever built. And thanks to the open back, fully open back exposed driver. Because there is no reflections and stuff like that, is perfectly almost like that room in your head. Because it's too fast and there's no reflection, we perceive these headphones like boring, mostly, or kind of slow, but it's opposite. We don't used to sit, human, everything you think about in the world, you've never been in that room, because people say we go crazy if we're going to sit in a room, there's no reflection. This is why you're going to perceive these headphones slower, kind of, compared to like Nanos and Arya Organics, even HE1000 SE.
Yep.
But it's actually different. We're going to talk about the tonality. You can explain it later. But the technical wise, this is all the caveats and the things that you have to consider when you purchase such a headphone. I know these are very expensive, right? It's how much?
They are coming in at around £2,500 British money, and dollars it's around, I think it's like 2,728, so like shy of $3,000. So these are, they aren't the most expensive. Like its Varna, I think, are still a little bit more expensive, I'm pretty sure. But these do fall into one of the most expensive HIFIMAN headphones and on the market right now.
Yeah, and they are about 3,000 euros in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, this is like listening to a very, very good pair of headphone speakers in kind of half anechoic chamber or some. This is pretty hard to explain, but you get me. You understand, right?
Yep.
I don't want to talk about the build quality and everything. This is premium headphones. We coming with very, very high quality case and cables and everything. But the sound wise, it's, if you used to hear HIFIMAN's, a brighter-ish HIFIMAN housing sound, these are not. These are not too bright as HE1000 SE, and almost perfect at the top end and mid-range. The backside, it's going to lower the low end even more. But thanks to the driver moves freely, and there's an updated driver in these, they can handle the EQ perfectly fine. Maybe you can show the graph.
That's what I've been doing. Sorry if anybody sees I was maybe a bit disengaged. I was getting the setup on Squiggling. So what I'm going to do just now is I'm going to change the screen live here on Riverside here, just so I've got something set up so Emrah could see this as well in real time. Right, so in Squiggling, I have loaded up 3 different measurements. So we've got HE1000 version 2, HE1000 Unveiled, and HE1000 SE. So as you can see with the HE1000 Unveiled, and this is the Harman, this is using a grass measurement. This is Unheard Lab, who's pretty trusted. So as you can see, the very, very, very linear response, like that is flat in the low end. It follows Harman, like without the bass boost, it follows Harman all the way up to 1K, and it only needs just like a touch of EQ to get you up to 1K. And then for me personally, what I did when I EQ'd this was I just took this peak here around 5.8 and I brought it down and I left the top end. Emrah, you did I think I'm pretty sure you took down the top end with a shelf, like a dB shelf, but I think you can get away with it, and I'm quite sensitive to bright headphones. But as you can see, that is a damn good response out of the box, isn't it, Emrah?
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. It's almost spot on with if you think about the Optimum Hi-Fi, because HIFIMAN, when they produce such headphones, they don't produce it for studio usage. They are mostly targeting the hi-fi world. But as we can see, the response is pretty damn good. And what I did was just adding a few dB on the low end from 80 hertz and up, and just a touch 1 dB, a really wide Q around the ear gain, because they set the ear gain is like in between, right? It's not too bright, it's not too dull.
Yeah.
And high end, I will leave it as it is, because there is no reflection on these headphones. You hear the high ends and top end. It's very, very accurate.
Yeah. And also, Emrah, if we compare that now, right? So I'll add in the HE1000 SE. If we take that as obviously, like the the veiled version, right? As you can see here, again, the response is pretty similar, but as Emrah said, the ear gain is closer, to what we would class as our target. But what you notice with HE1000 SE being the red line, it is noticeably brighter than the HE Unveiled, and I do normally tend to add as much as like a 3 to 4 dB high shelf cut. Like again, if I'm just going to take that away just so you could see, I mean, it is considerably brighter. And normally Harman can sound pretty dull, but it is a bright sounding headphone. And if we could add in the version 2 to that, as you can see, the version 2 is is pretty similar to that as well. So if we take that off, no, there it is. Right, so there is the HE1000 version 2. So if we look at the ear gain, if we bring the HE1000 SE back, pretty much the same. It's pretty much like measures the same nearly. But again, that's pretty bright as well. So the HE range in itself has always been a pretty bright range of headphones where they've always needed, again, normally quite good linear bass, just like one simple bass shelf, a bit of ear gain, a pin gain boost around like 2K, and then a bit of like a high end cut, maybe like a 2-3 dB shelf. So obviously if you look at the two of these, they are pretty similar. Where if we then bring back the HE1000 Unveiled, again without having those resonances in, again we don't measure sound just on looks and we go, it's not as much of a squiggly line, but sound wise it genuinely does sound like that graph. It does sound like around the right brightness, very close to the target. And again, it needs, 3 bands of EQ, and that's it. It's pretty crazy how easy these are to EQ. I do need more EQ with the HE1000 version 2 and also the HE1000 SE. And yeah, out the box, this just sounds spot on to me.
And considering the Harman target is kind of still a little bit falling to the bright side of the, it's kind of, most people will describe it as a V shape, but it's not actually. But you can add like, I add like 1 dB high shelf from 4000 down 1 dB, and that was it. But I was considering the translate wise, because if you listen to very bright headphones like DT 1990, you're gonna end up very dull sounding mixes if you don't EQ them.
Yep.
And what I really like about these headphones is it has a little bit warmish character. At as you can see, it's pretty linear up to like 1000.
It is 1000 very linear
hertz. And there's a slight bump, as I like very much. It's around 300 and 400K, between 200 and 400K, which is it's where things get muddy, right? And translate wise, you will really have to add a little bit bump there when you EQ. But this is perfect. So when you mix, is all about counter EQing. The things you make it as a counter, so you will end up, taking down that little bump during the mixing, and this is going to translate perfectly fine. The low end will sound. I'm gonna tell you how it translates. Pretty separated and good, but still. The warmish and meaty, and the highs are just crisp, and vocals are perfect. The end up result is perfectly fine. But the issue with these headphones, I'm gonna leave it to you when I tell that they are just boring, like literally boring headphones, like you're sitting in an Anachoic chamber and listening to your perfect speakers.
Yeah, I think it was really, really, really disappointing for the two of us when we got them on, because on one hand, we could hear a completely, linear sound. Like, these are so unbelievably linear. I remember when I was on the Discord and I was giving my first impressions, as I always do, I was talking about, wow, these are arguably the most boring headphones I've ever heard. And but it was linear and it was clean, and I was like, wow, this is like listening to like what I'd imagine to be the most linear of linear speakers in the most like linear of rooms. So it was very boring. Energy wise, I was like, wow, where's the slam? They weren't slamming. I felt that the top end was a bit too smooth. I was like, wow, we're getting smooth, like almost too perfect, and like it's just even smoother than the HE1000 SE. Like when I first got the Unveiled, the HE1000 SE, I was like, I much prefer the HE1000 SE. These have still got a little bit of bite to them, a little bit of energy still, a bit more low end in there. Yeah, I'm just not kind of vibing with them. It's just too unbelievably boring, and they were boring to the point where I kind of felt they reminded me of these. Where the thing is with the HE1000 version 2 is there's just no microdynamics in them. They don't have the speed of the HE1000 SE. They are just a bit too slow, in my opinion. They're just audiophile headphones. I'd love to say that, yeah, these are like great for mixing and they've got lots of microdynamics. And yes, they resolve like, the HE1000 line, and yeah, they are comfy and the build's really good, and they've got obviously the tilted pads and stuff like that. But I was just a bit disappointed with it Unveiled, because I was like, it's kind of even softer sounding than the HE1000 version 2, which was like, as I said, it was like almost like a kind of I'd nearly say as soft as the Edition XS. But Emrah, in his wisdom, right now, we can't go too much into this, and we're not gonna, but Emrah has found a way. The master, right, has found a way of making these arguably one of the best translating headphones, one of the best sounding speaker-like headphones that I've heard. Emrah, talk a little bit about it. Again, we're not going to go into like the details of what you've done because we'll keep that to ourselves just now.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about what you were able to do and why you were able to do what you were able to do to make these just change into like monsters.
Yeah, because they don't have any grills and stuff like that. You know, it's just everything hits. It's like short living, right? It's just like bam.
No,
The bass, like you compress the hell out of it. It's like it's almost dynamic, feeling. It's a very dynamic feeling, but very short. Like there is no sustain almost, and that's where things get really boring because of because we used to hear stuff with sustain and attack and stuff like that. Not that they are not speedy enough, like they don't have any speed. Rather, they are very fast. That's the issue, right? It's too fast to control. So how we fix this is that I was just playing with that. I was like, how about if I use some kind of a transient shaper on these? Okay, the transient shapers are not perfect, but when you kind of add a little bit attack and sustain, these headphones, all that anechoic chamber feeling, the boring feeling, is going away, almost. And those are turning these headphones to a monster. Like they slam like there's no tomorrow.
It's crazy, right? Man. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy because it can handle transient and sustain. Never try this at home.
I know, but the speed's there. By the way, for anybody asking, right, I tried it with these and they don't have the speed. It's like, I can get them to be slightly more punchy with a little bit more energy, but they still sound pretty soft sounding and still audiophile. These, on the other hand, now I know I could, if I chose to, I could mix on these because I always felt that they were a bit maybe too relaxed. Now, like with this technique that Emrah's got, these now become like punchy, slamming monsters where they've got all the resolution still and all the detail. You're not losing the resolution in the detail. You're not losing any of that. It's not making them, center focused or anything like that. It's just adding the energy that these are lacking. However, compared to these, right? So these compared to these using the same technique, these are still better because they don't have the resonances that these have. Now, this is arguably, as I said earlier, one of the best sounding headphones I've ever heard. But they're so unbelievably smooth sounding. Honestly, you would never think that I would say that the HE1000 SE is slightly veiled sounding. If you listen to lots of open back headphones, your Sennheisers and Neumanns and blah-de-blah-de-blah, even the HE1000 version 2, it'll sound veiled. And it's only when you have those resonances taken away with the unveiled HE1000, you're just like, whoa. It's like, honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was like, where's all this low end coming from? Where's the slam coming from? Where's all this energy coming from? And then you combine that with the detail, the separation, the resolution of everything, and the clarity of everything. All of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, I can hear everything. Because all of a sudden, I've got the clicks of the kicks, got the top transients of everything. I've got the resolution, I've got the panning, I've got the imaging, I've got the stage. Everything's in front of me, but clear as day, completely unveiled. Like, honestly, I think many people get in this whole thing about, unveiled, it's a marketing gimmick. When you use, honestly, when you use them with this Emrah's technique, it's like, okay, these are unveiled. And it's unbelievable. And Emrah's done a few mixes and masters on them, Emrah, and just tell people, like you told me earlier on, they translated perfect, didn't they?
Yeah, it's just, I did 3 songs and they all was V1, nothing else. And it's like a perfect girlfriend or boyfriend, right? It's just handsome and it's everything, he has money,
money.
She is rich, her father is rich, and she gets you a Ferrari and on your birthday present, but she is like boring as hell, she's just sitting there very, very quiet and just never bother you. You know, there's no argument and discussion. When you go out, she's calm and soft. You know, it's kind of like just giving her a glass of wine. You know, like energy,
bit of edge,
just a little bit edge, and just a bit energy drink. And then she become a party girl, right?
Yeah, party animal. But see with these, right, this is what's hard, is that whilst these are, honestly, I could know for a fact, I could mix on these now. I wouldn't need to combine these with nanos. With Emrah's new technique, I could mix just on HE1000 SE because it's giving me that energy. The thing about the 1000 SE is it's still got that glass of whiskey thing where even with Emrah's technique, it's not got the full speed of nanos. It's not got the full speed of the Unveiled. And even with the punch, in the top end, everything still has this unbelievable smoothness to it. I would say that like these, for me, are like nearly like end game for mixing. Like I need to do a few more mixes on them using Emrah's technique. I think we're on the cusp of like S tier. Like we're genuinely on the cusp of it. These are just still, if you were to say, Paul, what would you listen to? I would use Emrah's technique and listen to music still on these because it's the smoothness of them, but they're too smooth, so smooth to the point where I wouldn't really hear if I was making something a little bit aggressive in the highs, if I wanted kind of hi-hats to have a bit more kind of transient energy, a bit of distortion here or there. This is, honestly, these headphones still, with Emrah's technique, just takes everything and it's like, whoa, calm down there. Calm down. No, we don't want things to get overly aggressive here, right? Come on, just have another whiskey, sit back, and just let me just, like, throw everything around you. But I'm going to give you even more punch now, and I'm going to let you give a little bit more slam here. So I could still mix on them, but they're still unbelievably smooth sounding, where these are unbelievably revealing. Honestly, it's amazing how Emrah has managed to transform these. But again, it's all about the speed. It's all about the driver design. And it's unbelievable how you've got something like nanos where the energy is completely, it's obvious. It's like the energy's in your face. Transients are like crack, 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 boof, boof, boof. Where with these are even, I mean, Emrah, I take it these are actually faster than the nanos. Because but it's amazing. If you listen to them stock, you'd be like, absolutely no way. These are faster than the nanos. Until you get Emrah's like technique on them and it shows you the speed that's there untapped and you could manipulate it, and just honestly it's like, wow, these are like huge sounding speakers. Like Emrah, you tuned these quite closely to your eaves. I remember like when we were on Messenger and Emrah got super excited because we were so down about the Unveiled, and then he got so excited. I was
disappointed.
And he was like, bro, like the low end in these are like sounding like my 12-inch fucking eaves. Like, bro, this sounds like my Eve speakers. I mean, is this the closest you'd say you've got speakers?
So far, so far.
Okay.
So far. So these are very good, but there are some downsides as well, you know.
Oh, because always.
Because I'm not going to rate them as tire, but they are very, very close, you know, just touching the S tire, like hold my hands, right? You know, drivers are exposed because when you don't use, you have to put them back. You know, you just need to take care of them more.
You do, you
just can't just put them aside and just, you know, leave the house. And if you are vaping, if you are smoking in the studio, you know, don't do that. The dust in your studio, you know, you have to see, it's like you really need a laboratory to use them.
I know, I've got this image of Emrah like just going absolutely crazy, white suit, the whole fucking room is like dust free when you're using them.
It's like, it's very, very dangerous to damage them. Yeah, it is really easy to damage them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where things are kind of, you know, downsides. But there's no way to protect them when you're using. It's a compromise you have to accept.
But the chances are, Emrah, right, for me anyway, the chances are you're not, when they're on your head, there's not going to be really anything that's going to fly into them. As long as when you put them down, you're careful and you make sure that there's nothing about that it's going to scratch them or stuff. I think the chances of you damaging them are, as long as you're cautious. You know what I mean? Again, these aren't a headphone that you're going to spend nearly fucking $3,000 on, or $2,500, whatever you get them for, and stick them in your bag. You're not going to do that. These are like, even me, Mr. Paul Third, is like very haphazard. Like every time I've been using them, again, I always put these back on. And power-wise, again, they need an amp. Like all the HEs need an amp. They're relatively hungry. But again, you don't need a super amp to drive any of them. But, they're relatively hungry, but you should be using an amp anyway. So to kind of wrap up, I would say the HE1000 version 2, if you're an audiophile, I think you'll really like them. I think if you like the Sennheiser sound and you like that kind of, soft, kind of nice mid-range and, everything's really kind of well-balanced and just really nice to listen to and nothing's fatiguing. These are not fatiguing headphones. I think these would be a big step up from like a Sennheiser. The bass is nice and full. I'd say the bass is fuller on these than on the HE1000 SE. But unfortunately, there's nothing really you can do to kind of try and give them the speed and the energy that they don't have. They are slightly veiled sounding. They just, again, sound like a planar kind of Sennheiser HD650, with good bass that's linear, low distortion. So definitely better than Sennheisers and stuff. But at the price, there's much better that you can get for the price, in my opinion. I'd much rather mix on Aria Organic than the HE1000 version 2. Aria Organic is, for me, head and shoulders above the HE1000 version 2. HE1000 SE, especially with Emrah's technique, you can definitely just mix on these and you'll get amazing results, great resolution, amazing sounding, perhaps on the smooth side. But, these are now, sitting at around £1,600, £1,700. That puts them in the same price bracket as MM500. Choose these every day of the week. If you're at that price, you're at a toss-up between the Sendy Peacocks, which we are going to do a review of at some point. Oh, it's a tough one between these, because these are just the best sounding headphones for listening to music, in my opinion. And again, you can adapt that with Emrah's technique. So you can get, these smooth, just big picture, the most perfect big picture you've ever heard, and hear all the separation and hear all the loveliness that's in the songs, and, panning and imaging and everything. Is just a breeze on these. But, for the price, these are now still one of the best headphones for the price, in my opinion. And then, we will cover these again at some point. Again, pricey, but I think you're talking the best that HIFIMAN can offer just now. Again, I've still got to do a little bit more on his Varna, because I'm still trying to find the right measurement. There isn't many measurements for his Varna. It's a dual driver. But these are really, really, really special. And obviously, before you ask, you'll notice that there's an absolute mess behind me because I've been testing headphones. So, wait a minute. You will be seeing the HE1000 Unveiled, because I do have the Aria Unveiled as well. And there'll be a lot of talk about the Aria Unveiled, because essentially, without going too much into it, they measure nearly fucking identical. And there's a lot of similarities between these two headphones. But there is a slight difference in sound, and there is a reason why I would say just now I'm leaning much towards the HE1000 version 2. But at the price, using Emrah's technique, I think you're talking a headphone that, for me, is going to outdo Dan Clark and stuff like that. It's remarkable. It's like taking the Aria sound to the next level, and it's got its own form of translation. I just think that just now, for me, these are just, as Emrah said, fucking close to S tier. These are an A all day around. But we'll get to that. So hopefully Emrah can get his hands on these. We could do a bit more in-depth research on these, explain the differences between the two, talk about translation, and if you never know, this is cheaper, and we might actually prepare this more for mixing. There's
coming some kind of Ananda Unveiled as well, Ananda Unveiled, and that's pretty much in a ballpark. Maybe I know it's not going to be. By the way, these are not Ananda Nanos. They are not Ananda.
Nothing like them.
Still, nothing like them. These are not actually. It's just a category, like the series of the headphones. These are not even close to HE series, the other HE series. These are different.
Yeah,
these are different. But it's also too bad to add that extra the technique that we have to use to make them sound like a monster. But
Correct.
this is because we are audio engineers. We are not. If I were to listen to them, I would put them aside and pick SE, HE1000 SE, because it's such a joy to listen to.
Correct.
These are going to be really boring for you if you're just audiophile and listen to the music. But if you are going to mix on headphones, these are going to be a pair of studio you wearing, literally.
Yep. So that's how we'll leave it. Again, Emrah, thank you so much for your time. Being a very busy man today. What were you doing today? Actually, what was your how many mixes, masters were you doing today?
Yeah, man. Just don't ever ask. I'm just mixing, mastering all the time, and I'm also producing coding another headphone. Not headphone. No, I can't call headphones. No, I'm in plugins. There will be a really interesting plugin coming out soon.
So we'll keep your eye out for that as well. Again, if you're wanting to get further into all this, there is a Discord that you can join. Again, it's growing every episode we do. We're now at, I think, 175 paid members now. Everybody is getting so much value out of it. Again, everything that's in this head here is in that Discord, and you could genuinely get our first impressions of headphones that we're thinking about. Again, if there's any issues about certain things, again, there is an issue with something that we can't review yet, so we're waiting to see how we get the fix for that. And, we've been, rabbit holing all of that. So again, anything headphone mixing related and other things as well. Like there's loads and loads of audio geekery going on. Become a MixPhones channel member, and you will get sent a link via email to the Discord, and you can join the fun. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Emrah. My name is Paul Third, Emrah Celik, and we'll see you again on MixPhones.